Out the window of the plane, we see the rugged landscape of the Southern Alps. We're flying from Taupo to Queenstown in the South Island of New Zealand. That's Mount Cook. At 12,218 feet, it's the highest mountain in New Zealand. The effects of glaciers on the landscape is very evident. When we land at Queenstown, we go directly to the helipad. The weather's good right now, but it changes minute to minute. So we're off to see the sights. That's the suburbs of Queenstown on the Frankton arm of Lake Wakatipu. Lake Wakatipu is 50 miles long, making it New Zealand's longest lake. At the inflow to the lake is an unusual braided river. The Dart River carries a lot of sediment and slows across the glacial plain, causing this interesting effect. We sit back and enjoy the scenery. The rocky hills and mountain meadows of the east side give way to reveal glacier-covered peaks, cloud-covered valleys on the west side of the Southern Alps. Glaciers cling to the steep slopes. We sit down on a glacier to experience the Southern Alps close up. Then we dive down through the cloud cover. There's Milford Sound, actually a 10-mile-long fjord. At the head of Milford Sound is Lady Bowen Falls with a drop of 531 feet. Too soon it's time to head back to Queenstown. Back up through the cloud cover. The craggy peaks poke through the clouds. Before we know it, we're back on the east side. We sit down on a tussock-covered knoll for a great view of the lake and some champagne. Then a short flight up the Wapatipu Valley. We land at the helipad of our hotel. And all that before lunch. At Gantley's, we'll be eating lunch al fresco. After a heavy lunch, what could be better than an e-ticket jetboat ride on the Shotover River? The river is fast-flowing, narrow, and shallow with a lot of rapids. Here we go. The driver seems to delight in how wet he can get us. But we survive. A little damp, but otherwise okay. Back to the hotel, and it's time for dinner. Some very nice New Zealand lamb. And the tiramisu was good too. It's a beautiful morning, and we use the wonderful light to take some pictures around the Millbrook Resort. Arrowtown is a historic gold mining town not far from Millbrook. We meet our guides for a walking tour of the town. It's appropriate that the tour starts on the banks of the Arrow River, where gold was discovered in 1861. Chinese laborers were brought in to work the gold fields. Ah Lum's store is one of the few surviving buildings associated with the early Chinese community in New Zealand. Many buildings remain from the gold rush days, now serving as cafes, shops, and offices. Pritchard's store, circa 1862, barely survived the fire of 1896, but today is the self-proclaimed quaintest pharmacy in New Zealand. The bank and several other gold rush era buildings have been incorporated into the Lakes District Museum. A row of pioneers' cabins line Buckingham Street. Today they're cafes and offices. The Oddfellows Hall is now a beauty salon. Our next stop is wine tasting at Brennan's. We meet Sean Brennan, the winemaker and son of the owner. The Otago region has established itself as a premier region for Pinot Noir and Riesling. And Brennan's does a good job on both. Not far down the road, Grant Taylor greets us at the door to his winery, Valley. New French oak barrels await his 2014 Pinot Noir. We taste his current Pinot Noir while Grant discusses the finer points of winemaking in New Zealand. We'd be remiss if we didn't stop at the home of bungee jumping. A.J. Hackett established the first commercial bungee jumping operation here at the Kawarau Bridge in 1988. The bar at the observation platform is doing a brisk business today. The last stop today is the Kiwi Bird Park in Queenstown. We were introduced to the park and some of its residents at a bird show. The park specializes in the rare and endangered birds of New Zealand. The brush-tailed possum, introduced in New Zealand to start a fur trade, is a major predator of birds and bird eggs. There are also some unique New Zealand species like the tuatara, a primitive reptile which looks like a lizard, but it's in a class by itself. The rainbow lorikeet is another introduced species, but this one earns his keep as the park's fundraiser. Just hold up a bill, he'll fly up and take it from you. The Kiwis are nocturnal, so they have a special house with special lighting. Full disclosure, this is not my picture, but we did see this unusual bird. The moorpork is a small owl common to New Zealand and Australia. The kea is the world's only alpine parrot and is unique to the South Island. This little parakeet is only found in New Zealand. This duck is only found on a few small islands south of the South Island. Many of the birds here are part of a rehabilitation or a captive breeding program. This falcon has a bad wing and can't be released into the wild. This endemic flightless bird is also called the Maori hen. This small goose is only found in New Zealand. At the gift shop, Sherry buys possum fur scarf and gloves. We're doing our part to save the birds. We're on our own tonight for dinner in Queenstown, but first we find the Starbucks. From the shores of Lake Wakatipu, we watch the setting sun wash over Cecil Peak. We try the highly recommended blue cod and chips. Then it's back to the hotel. It's a travel day tomorrow.